Okay, we started this topic last time from chapter 10 about volume studies. We reviewed some of the terms which we already know, okay, from the previous lecture, or I already know. Then we looked at how the demand variations can happen. They can happen according to time, day, season, because of events. And to manage it, then we employ a system which is known as ITS, Intelligent Transportation Systems. I showed you these figures which show the variation in demand according to time and day and location. Then we moved on to intersection volume studies, which are also known as TMCs. We try to do them manually because it will be more accurate. We have to take care of where we are putting the observers and where how many movements we can assign to the observer. If you are doing it manually, then you have to plan the breaks as well. Okay. In some cases where the queue is too long, then we prefer to do we prefer to know the arrival volume. Okay, because that is more accurate. But the arrival volume can only be calculated. We looked at this equation. We looked at this question. Okay. I told you how to do it, but you have to still finish the table yourself, okay, the arrival volumes. Okay, if you are doing the counting at signals, then the most important thing is the cycle length of the signal, the time from red to red. And we said everything should be a multiple of cycle length, counting period, break period, and so on. And we look and we discuss what do we do when we have signals connected with sensors. We call them actuated signals. Okay. Once you have done the study for the intersections, the TMC is finished. You have to give it to your client in a representative way. Okay, if you did it on a highway, it's very easy. You tell me the number, right? How many cars, how many vehicles? That's it, that's enough. If you did it at the intersection, then the number is not enough. You have to tell me the movement as well, right? Which movement you are talking about. So this is one of the representation of the intersection counts. You can see the numbers are in the boxes and the boxes are connected with arrows. Okay, and then I know each number is a combination of what? So this 750 is a combination of these three numbers. And where are they going? This is right turn, this is straight, this is taking left turn. Okay, we look at this 585. So again this is a combination of three, right? One coming from here, from the top, and from the left hand side. Clear? This is one representation, and the representation is arrowhead and tail diagram. So again you see numbers, but instead of boxes we are using arrowheads and tails. Okay, so you see an arrowhead here, that means the traffic is coming in. If you see an arrow tail, that means the traffic is going out. Okay, and then the arrowheads and tails have lines and lines have numbers. Again to show the movement. Okay, so out of this 7355, I have a line going right, 201. Okay, so 201 are going right, and I have 6508 going straight, and then I have this one which is 646 going left. Okay, so if you combine the volumes from the lines, you will get the total for each side. Clear? Another thing here is that the size. Okay, the size of these arrowheads and tails are scaled according to the number. Okay, so this one is 6,000, this one is 8,000 something. So 6,000 is supposed to be smaller than 8,000. I mean in size. So this arrow should be smaller than this tail because this one has a bigger number and this one has a smaller number. Clear? Okay. Any questions? Okay. And this is how they do it in Bahrain by the Ministry of Works. They put the name of the intersections, okay, you may know it, and then the time, the day, they have the reference number as well, their own reference. Okay, they mention the most important hours of the day, hour in the morning, hour in the evening, hour in the afternoon. Okay, you can see three different hours in three different colors. Then you see the intersections again. They have boxes, right? They have boxes. With the boxes you can see the arrows as well. So the arrows are showing the movement, the boxes are showing the numbers. Okay, and these colors are showing what? Okay, and then you can see the names of the highways as well, which highways are intersecting here. Clear? Okay. Okay. Up till now, whatever we have talked about is studies done at single locations, single segment, a single intersection. Okay, but the counting studies can be as wide as entire area. Okay, in some of the studies, we may be required to find out the count for an entire area. So that entire area will not have one intersection or one segment or one highway. Okay, it will be a series of intersections connected with different segments, right? So that is called a network. Okay, so our network is a series of segments and intersections connected to each other. Okay, now limited network, we call it a limited network. The network is limited to that area. Okay, a limited network study means you have an area, and in that area you will study the entire network of roads. So that's why we call it limited network, limited by the area. Okay, clear? Sure. Okay. Now, which area do we select for this type of a study? The area depends upon a major traffic generator. Okay, we know what is a generator, right? Which does what? Generates what? Electricity, right? So that's a useful one. This one is the one which ruins our lives. Okay, it generates what? Generates traffic. Okay, meaning it attracts a lot of demand. A facility, a building, okay, which attracts a lot of traffic demand. Give me an example. Mall, airport, hospital, schools. We should close all these things, right? So we can live happily ever after. Clear? So these are all major traffic generators. Why do we do a limited network study? The purpose is to find out the effect of this traffic generator in the area in terms of traffic. Okay, how this facility is affecting the traffic of that area. We want to find this. So we do a limited network study. Okay, so your area is whichever area you expect that will be affected by this facility. Clear? Okay, so you will select an entire area, and all intersections and segments in that area are part of your limited network. Now the problem is, we are talking about an entire area. That area may have 50, 60 intersections, hundreds of segments, okay, different types of highways. So there's a lot of work. Okay, even if you take one intersection, an intersection has how many movements? I showed you here, right? How many movements? People were actually counting, huh?
For one direction.
16, right? 16 movements. Okay, and each movement has how many numbers here? How many values? Each movement has how many values? 3 values, right? 16 times 3. So this is one intersection. And imagine then we have an entire area. So we have a problem of shortage of resources then. You cannot gather enough people or devices which can do this for you for entire area. Okay, and we had the same problem with the speed study, right? You came that our standard deviation is too high. So you said we will, if you keep the same standard deviation, your values were what? How much was your value?
300.
And how many people are you in the group?
4.
4. These 4 young men cannot do even 340 values. Okay.
Because we do still boys. We don't
What?
talk about that.
Whatever. Okay. So, but the idea is you get the point. Okay. So what did we do in the speed studies then? If you cannot do 340, now imagine, is 340 the actual number of drivers? If you say the sample size is 340 or 400, is this the actual number of drivers which are on that highway? It's just a sample. Okay, it's just a sample. Okay, we will do the same thing here. You cannot take the actual number for the entire network. So we will take what? We will take a sample. Okay, so for the entire network, whatever we require, we will take a sample from it, and then we will do some calculations to get the actual, or to get close to the actual number. Okay, again going back to the spot speed case, from the sample we calculated a range, and we said this range is for the entire population. What did we call this range? Eighty-fifth percentile. 85th percentile was for the sample. We calculated a range for the entire population using some sort of theorem. The sample size equation came from there. What range? Central limit. Yeah, the name of the theorem is central limit. Yes. And the range is called as what? Confidence interval. Okay. So you take a sample, and from the sample you try to get close to the actual data. We will do the same thing here. Okay. So how do we do the sampling then? First of all, you have your entire network. Divide the network into smaller parts. We call them sub-portions. Divide your big network into small parts, in which the roads and traffic is similar to each other. Okay. So I have a big area, and I know from this big area, this part of the network has similar characteristics of traffic. The traffic demand is similar, the trend of traffic is similar, the types of roads are similar, and so on and so forth. Okay. So instead of having a big area, I will have smaller parts of the area, sub-portions of the area. Okay. And in each sub-portion, what is our assumption? That the traffic trend is similar. On all segments and highways, the trend of traffic is similar. Okay. When it goes up, it goes in the entire sub-portion. When it goes down in the entire sub-portion. Clear? Okay. Then in those sub-portions, in each sub-portion, let's take one sub-portion. Okay. So in that one sub-portion, you will take control count on some locations and take coverage counts on other locations. What do we mean by that? A control count is taken for the full required duration of the study. Okay. So you are doing the study for 12 hours. If you count it for 12 hours full, we call it control count. Okay. You need the study for 12 hours, but now you did the count for 2 hours. So now we will call that count as coverage. Okay. Clear? Clear? Okay. So in each sub portion, there should be some control counts, meaning counts which are taken for full, and there should be some coverage, counts which are taken for a part of the full. Clear? Now which one is easier? Control or coverage? Coverage, right? Because for a part. Okay. We want to have more coverage counts, less control count. It will reduce our work, right? More coverage and less control. Okay. But how can we decide that? There are some guidelines here. So the first guideline is the ratio. For every one control count, you can go up to 20 coverage counts. So in your sub portion, if you took one control count, you can go up to 20 coverage counts. Okay. So if you have, for example, 30 coverage counts and you took only one control count, it is not acceptable. Okay. You should do at least 2 controls. For a coverage of 30 counts, you should do at least 2 control counts. Clear? Okay. So the first guideline is make sure the ratio is under the limit. Okay. Second thing is the next 2 points are related to control counts only. You have an entire network, right? The network can have different types of highways, right? What are the types of highways we have? And yes, types of highways
According to flow or according to facility?
according to facility.
Airplane, rural.
Airplane.
Airplane.
Yeah, he said this.
Rural.
And
Arterial, electoral.
yes. Okay, so we can have urban arterial, rural arterial, urban collector. Okay. On each type of highway, take at least one control count. Your network can have 2 or 3 or 4 of them, right? Different types. On each type, at least one control count. Clear? Second thing is about the land use. What is the land use? The function or the activity happening in the area. Okay. So in this area, this is educational, right? Okay. Keep it in mind when you come here. Educational, right? You have some areas which are commercial, right? Okay. Some areas are industrial. Okay. Go towards the port side. Okay. Industrial areas. We have some areas which are office areas, diplomatic area and so on. Okay. So land uses can be different. So you may have an entire area where you have different land uses. Again, one control count for every land use. One control count for every land use. Okay. So now what did we say about the control counts? The ratio. Up to 20 coverage for every control count. Up to. Okay. One control for every type of highway. One control for every type of land use. Clear? Okay. Okay. All counts, whether control or coverage, are taken at mid blocks. Mid block meaning between the intersections, the one which you are doing. Okay. When you will do the count, you will not do the count at intersections. Okay. You will do it between the two intersections, right? So these locations are called as mid blocks. Okay. Which are between the two intersections. Okay. So no count is taken at intersections. No count is taken at the intersections. Okay. So you do this whole study, you do the control counts and coverage counts, and you take the counts at mid block, you take the data to the client, and he says, I need the data for the intersections. Now what do you do? Yes. What do you do? You didn't take it at the intersection. Now the client is saying do it at the intersection. What do we do? Assume what? I'm showing you what to do. Drink coffee. Assume how? Some sort of assumption. Okay. How? Should we do another study for intersection only? No? Okay, then what do we do? You have to make sure that you have collected data from all mid blocks. We are doing only mid blocks, right? You cannot leave any mid block. All segments must be covered. No intersection is covered, but all segments are covered. Okay? Either you did the control count on them or you did the coverage count on them. Now in the end, what do you have? An intersection is what? What is an intersection? Intersection of? Vehicles are on what? Highways, right? Now if you covered all the highways, then the intersection is not a problem, right? You already know how many people are coming from each side. Okay? So if you have covered all the segments, then the intersection count can be derived from it. Clear? Okay? Okay. So this is the old area, the Isa Town area. This is our campus. Okay? Now if you see here, there are small streets here, right? These are local roads. there are some roads which are bigger than them. These are the collectors. Okay, and then these are the highways we have. Okay, arterials, major, minor arterials. Okay, this area is what land use? Education. Okay, the one in front of it, residential. The one on that side, commercial. Okay, so if we have to put control and coverage counts for this, let's say this is my sub portion. So what do I do then? I said what? What are the guidelines for control and coverage counts?
Each land use.
For each land use one, right?
Each type of
Okay, and for each type of highway. So there should be one control count done on the local streets, at least one done on the highways, and at least one done on these collectors, right? And then one on
each land use.
each land use. Okay, so one done in this area, at least one done in this area, because the land use is different now. One done at least in this area. Clear? Okay, and what were the other 2 points? What was the first point? See. Huh? For each 20, one control. Okay, so in the end you have to count how many controls you have and how many coverages you have. Okay, and the ratio should not go more than 1:20. And the last point, what was the last point? Yeah, what was the last point? Yes. Mid blocks. Okay, and you have to how many mid blocks? All of them. Okay. You have the slides in there, right? The slides are there? No. Slides are there? Okay. But still you don't look at it, no? Okay. This is one example. This is a sub portion of the network. Okay. And you can see there are different segments given here. One of these segments, location A, is assigned for control count. Okay, so this is for control count. So that means I will take the full count here. Whatever period I require, I take the count for that entire period on this location. Okay. The remaining are how many locations? 6. So on the remaining locations, I will do coverage counts. Meaning what? I will do what? What's the difference between control and coverage?
This done.
Huh?
This done.
Which one has less time?
Covered.
Coverage has less time. Okay, and obviously the spelling is also different. Right? So now what they want to do in this study, they want to find out an 8-hour count. This is not 4 hours. Okay? We don't go back in time. 12 noon to 8 p.m. Okay, so this is 8-hour count. They want 8-hour count on a typical weekday. Okay, on a typical weekday. What is the typical weekday? Any weekday. Okay, but just for your knowledge, typical is usually in the middle of the week. Okay, so the first and last is not counted as typical. Okay, so the first because the party has not finished yet, and the last because the party already started. Okay, that's one. So on a typical weekday, but on our typical weekday, so one day, right? How many hours? 8 hours. Okay. What's their restriction? They have only 2 teams. But they are using any sensor or counters, they have only 2 counters. Okay. So at a time they can do how many locations? 2. Okay. 2. And one of them has to be what? One of these locations has to be which one? Control. Okay. So one counter or one team must be here. Okay. How many left? 6. How many teams? 1 team. Okay. So that one team will shift from one point to the other. Okay. In how many hours? 8 hours. 8 hours. How many locations? 6. Okay, so you have to finish all 6 locations because we said we cannot leave any segment, right? So you have to finish all 6 locations in 8 hours. Okay, now it's up to you how you want to divide it. You cannot go more than 8 hours and you cannot leave any location. These are the only restrictions. You decide how many minutes or hours you want to spend on each one of them. Yes?
Summation of coverage points should be equal to the 1 point.
No, no. There's no such thing. Okay. So if you decide we will do half an hour on each location, fine. If you do half an hour, you will finish 6 locations in 3 hours. It's fine, within the 8 hours. Okay. You can decide we will do 1 hour on each location. So 1 hour means 6 locations, 6 hours. Fine. You can decide we will do 1 hour, 5 minutes. No problem. Okay. So you can decide. In this example, they decided we will spend 1 hour. Okay, 1 hour meaning 6 hours are enough for the 6 locations. We will finish the study within the same 8 hours. Okay. Now you see the first 2 columns are giving you the data of the control count. Okay, the first 2 columns are for the control count. So you can see for every hour I have a value, it's the same location. This is the same location. Okay. Now I needed what? Hours, count for how many hours? 8 hours, right? For control, I had an 8 hour data, right? I can know the 8 hour count. How much is it? Tell me. The 8 hour count for the control. How much? 7067. Okay, 8 hours for the control, done. For the remaining locations, I have data for how much? Data for how much time? Each location?
1 hour.
1 hour, okay. So I have to do something to convert this 1 hour into 8 hours. At all locations I need 8 hours. At all locations I need 8 hours of data, okay. So to convert this, using the control count, we will calculate a factor which is called expansion factor. So for every time, I will calculate an expansion factor. For every hour, I will calculate an expansion factor. Okay, what is an expansion factor? You take the volume of that hour divided by total. Okay, so if I want it for 12 to 1, I'll take the volume of 12 to 1 divided by total. How much is this? 0 point? Okay, for the next hour you will take the volume of that hour, okay, which is 811. Okay, tell me. 0 point? 13? 4? 6? Could be. 1 6. See? I'm not always joking. Next, 1 7, right? Huh? 1 3. Okay. Last? 0 5. Okay, now what did we do? The hourly traffic upon total gives you the factor, right? If I give you the hourly traffic and the factor, can you calculate the total? Okay. Some people are thinking, you can. If you use your brain, you can. Just have belief in yourself. Okay? So hourly upon total gave you the factor. So if you have hourly and the factor, you can calculate the total. So this is what we will do for the other points. Okay? We will use the hourly traffic and the factor of that hour. Okay? So location 8. Okay, location 1. The data is taken between 12 to 1, right? 12 to 1. How much is the data? 840. 840. For this hour, what is the factor? 0.12. Okay, so this will give you the total for the 8 hours. How much is that? Huh? 1101. Oh, sorry. Divide. How much? 7,000. Where is it? Okay. Next one. So look at the location and the hour in which the data was taken. Yes. 16 5 6 8 1. Next. 4615. Now location 4. See, the data is taken between 4 to 5. Okay. Do you see any value between 3 and 4? No. Okay. So you can do this. The hour is skipped. Okay. So keep it in mind. We will use the factor of 4 to 5, not 3 to 4. Yes. 2785. Next.
Doctor, maybe we can write the 4, 5, 6 down in the table.
And then what will happen?
So we can write here the values.
We mind this, no problem. I don't mind. I know it can be very confusing. Right. This is why I want to keep it this way.
Doctor, for rotation 4, 260, sir. Not 260. Rotation 4. 260.
Yes, next. 8,100. 7593. Which one? Location 5? I think so. Okay, the value is 1215 and you will divide by this one, 0.16.
11077.
11077. Okay, any problem? Any question? Clear? Okay. Now, look at the data from the control count. Look at the data from the control count. Can you tell me the peak hour?
67.
6 to 7 is the peak hour. In which word? Control. 5 to 6, right? 5 to 6 is the peak hour, right? Okay. Now remember when we were making the sub portions, you have to divide the network into sub portion, right? This is one sub portion. We said the segments show similar traffic characteristics in one sub portion. This is why we put them together. Okay. So if the peak hour on the control for the control count is 5 to 6, that means for the other locations or for the other counts it's also 5 to 6. Clear? Okay, this is what we mean by similar traffic trend. All the characteristics which you find in the control count, they are same for the other counts as well. Clear? Okay. So that means on the other locations the peak hour is 5 to 6. Okay. For the control count, you know which one is the peak hour, and you know the value of volume in the peak hour, right? What about the other locations? For which other location you can tell me the value for the peak hour? Yes. For which other location we have the value of the peak hour volume? For control we know, right? Then there are 6 other locations, right? So for which other location I know the value of the peak hour?
6.
Location?
6.
6. 6?
Plus
Huh? Why? Why? Huh? Yes, you are right. So which location has a peak hour volume? Huh?
location 6.
4?
6.
Location 6.
4? Okay, any other ideas? So 4 is wrong, 6 is wrong. Okay, let us do it this way. Yes, what happened? There are 4 others left, right? Only 4 others left. So your chances of being wrong is getting less and less, right? Which other location? Yes, tell me. Yes. You said the peak hour is when? 5 to 6. So which location has data for 5 to 6? Location 5. Okay. You said what? Peak hour is same for all locations, right? Okay. So for all locations, peak hour is 5 to 6. From all the other locations, I just have 2 locations in which 5 to 6 data is taken. The control, location A, and location 5. For the rest of the location, the data is taken in some other hour. So I don't know. Okay. But the peak hour is 5 to 6. Peak hour is 5 to 6. Okay. Now why I cannot do like this, what you are trying to do? Which one has more volume? Because these are different locations. You cannot compare between different locations. Okay. If it was like this, like the control, what is happening in control? Same location, different hours, right? Now I can pick the peak hour. But these are different hours and different locations. So based upon this data, I cannot say which one is a peak hour. Okay? You had a question? Okay? So what we will do for the rest of the locations? For the rest of the locations, I have just calculated what? The total, right? You just calculate the total. And for these total, so I have the total. And for the peak hour, this is the peak hour, right? 5 to 6. I know the expansion factor of the peak hour. So now I know the total and I know which expansion factor. Okay, so how do you get the hourly volume? It was, hour upon total gives you the factor, right? So now you know the total and you know the factor. You get to the hourly volume. Okay, but which hourly volume? 5 to 6, just the peak hour. Okay, so for location 1, the total is 7,000 and the factor for 5 to 6 will remain the same. It's for the entire network, which is 0.16. So how much is that?
1120.
Okay, next location, you will change the volume, not the factor.
908. 908. 740.
416.
125.
It should be 1215, right? Because it was 1215. 5 to 6. Yeah. 1772. Clear? Okay. So we were given a network. It had 7 locations. We said we will do control on 1, coverage on the remaining 6. Okay. So and they needed 8 hours of data. Okay. So for the control, I have the full 8 hours of data. I found the total, and that's it. Control work is done. But for the other locations, I had just 1 hour of data. Okay. To convert this 1 hour into 8 hours, I had to find out the expansion factor. Okay. The expansion factor, again, I will go to the data of control count, hourly count upon total. It will give you the expansion factor of each hour. Then you will take the value which is from the coverage locations, value divided by the expansion factor of that hour gives you the total. Okay. Then I'll go back to the control data again, find out which one is the peak hour. Then I multiply the total with the expansion factor of that hour, I get the peak hour volume for all other locations. Clear? Any questions? We will be doing some more work with the same example, with the same network. Okay, so keep it in mind.